just going through some documents when it comes to 9/11. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what actually happened. I think there's enough questions. There's the third building that collapsed. There's the plane. The wingspan of the plane is wider than the hole in the Pentagon. The Pentagon didn't release any surveillance. And so I have, a lot of significant questions about what did or did not happen. And there's this one, video here. It looks like it's Diane Sawyer. She's asking him, and he's trying to say that there might have been an inside. He was concerned that there was an inside job, but he didn't want to say the word conspiracy. And they're like, see, told you. So I discount that. I don't think that's anything. But this one, here, you can hear the sound to it. Okay, this one.
Stretch. Big stretch.
Stretch.
I know you said there'll be a time for politics, but you've also said you wanted to change the tone of Washington. Howard Dean recently seemed to muse aloud whether you had advanced knowledge of 9/11. Do you agree or disagree with the RNC that this kind of rhetoric borders on political hate speech?
Yeah. There's time for politics. And, it's time for politics, and,
this is some sort of insinuation.
That wasn't his first reaction. He wanted to dismiss it and, real quick. But he didn't just say it's an absurd insinuation as soon as he heard it. He wanted to say some lofty, bull crap. And just listen to this. He asked the question. He said, you had knowledge before 9/11 happened, and is that true? In fact, he didn't even ask if it was true. He said that, is it hate speech? Does it border on hate speech? So he doesn't even answer the question. Does it border on hate speech? It's an absurd insinuation. It might be an absurd insinuation, but he wanted to know, is it hate speech? Could he be convicted? Could he be convicted of hate speech because he's insinuating that Bush may have known prior to, the Twin Towers, and there's 4 planes, right? There's Flight 93 and then the one in the Pentagon. And so they're saying that did he have prior knowledge, and is that hate speech? No, they didn't ask if he had prior knowledge. They just asked if he had hate speech. Let's listen to it again. He doesn't have an immediate answer. He doesn't have an immediate answer, and so what it looks like to me is that he thought about it, wanted to dismiss it, but then he actually considered it, like he wanted to think about what's the best way to deny it, and he's like, well, there's a time for politics, and then it's like, wait, I did have knowledge about it. Oh, my God. How can I get out of this? Listen to it again. This is George Bush in a press conference talking to Big Stretch.
I know you said there'll be a time for politics, but you've also said you wanted to change the tone of Washington. Howard Dean recently seemed to muse aloud whether you had advanced knowledge of 9/11. Do you agree or disagree with the RNC that this kind of rhetoric borders on political hate speech?
Yeah. There's time for politics. And, it's time for politics, and,
this is some sort of insinuation.
He could have said that it was an absurd insinuation to begin with, but whether it's hate speech is another question. So, it's an absurd insinuation, but is it hate speech? Can you convict the guy of it? So, I don't know. I thought that was, I was like kind of laughing at some of these conspiracy theorists. They're crazy. They don't know what's going on at all. But that was a bad answer. That was the answer of a person that knew something about it, but didn't want to admit that he knew something about it before it had happened. And the government's lie. I mean, governments have been lying. FDR knew about Pearl Harbor before it happened. USS Maine. I don't know if we knew about it, but there's some evidence that says that it was a false flag. We actually sunk it ourselves. But let's give the benefit of the doubt, and there was an explosion with the ammunition, the stockpile. And so there was a fire by their ammunition, there was an explosion, and then about 200 of the 300 or so sailors that were on the battleship, which was parked in Havana Harbor in Cuba, it blew up and it was sunk. This is a $5 million ship. And so it was an internal accident, but the government and the yellow press used that incident to invade Cuba, take it over, kick the Spanish out, and then that's when we became an empire. That was William McKinley. That's when we got the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico, and Cuba. So we actually got colonies after 1898. The Gulf of Tonkin resolution, the Gulf of Tonkin incident was total fabrication, total lies, and turns out that actually the radar, the sonar radar was our own. You know, we're sitting there saying, oh my God, there's like, you know, enemies around, but it was our own, so it was stupid. The whole thing just made no sense because there was absolutely no evidence to suggest that anything had happened. We are in their waters. We are over there. And there was a person that, you know, drove by in a ship, but in terms of actually, you know, there was bullet holes from our gunships, but none that was firing back. And so, yeah, governments lie. They lie over and over and over again. Remember the Alamo. Remember the Raisin. The Raisin when we invaded Detroit and then got killed. And then we're going to sit there and say, remember the Raisin after we invaded a city? And then they killed a lot of people that were in prisons. They were prisoners. But what do we do with prisoners, right? Send them to Guantanamo Bay. Who gives a crap? So to try to take the moral high ground, yeah, sure, we invaded your country, but you didn't have to kill all the prisoners. Well, you invaded us, so you were the soldiers of war. Yeah, I think that's true. You're supposed to protect prisoners, but what if you don't have the resources and prisoners can escape? And so, you know, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's like, you can't, it's like if there's a gang coming into my house, a gang of 5 people, and I shoot, you know, a couple of them and they're dead, and then one's alive, and then he puts his hands up and he puts the gun down, and I, you know, go ahead and kill him too. So, am I in the wrong? I don't know if I'm in the wrong or not. You know, I think the rules of engagement or the rules of war is that I'm supposed to, you know, put that one person, hold him as prisoner, and then, you know, since he surrendered, therefore he's a prisoner of war and he's entitled to some human rights. But you're about to, you know, if he didn't put his hands up or whatever and surrender, I don't know. Okay, so anyways, I'm totally on another track here. Just governments have been lying over and over again. So Noam Chomsky says that it's a bunch of bull, and so I never really thought about it after that. But then he also says to question the liberal gatekeepers. So I don't know. I don't know what happened in 9/11. I think that's a problem. That is a problem for me. I'm not for sure. And I don't want to go through life. I guess maybe there's a lot of things that I don't know, but it's sort of clouded in obscurity. There are a lot of significant questions that have been raised, and I would like to get some of those questions answered. So, anyways.